Are you ready to listen to my dad Joe and Uncle Justin talk about sports? Now on with the show.
The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop, which have been serving the greater West Lawn area delicious food for over 70 years.
So get ready! Get ready! Are you ready for some football?
You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. A weekly podcast about sports since 2011. With a focus on football. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and here with me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's great to be here, man. We've reached that time. It is June, summer,
Right.
Well, I guess spring is still technically.
It's technically spring, but I operate on the meteorological calendar, which goes June 1st through August 31st is
It's the better
summer.
way to think.
That is the better way to think about it because, as Kelly likes to tell me, she has a summer birthday. Incorrect, she does not. I do not have a fall birthday.
Yes,
I do
you
not
do.
have
You have a fall
I feel like
birthday.
we've had this conversation on this show before.
Yes, you have a fall birthday, and then later that week, sometimes it's Christmas.
While you clearly have a summer birthday, it unfortunately happens in the worst month of the year.
The best month of the year.
Okay, that's not true. July is not the worst month of the year. Clearly, February is the worst month of the year, followed closely by January. After that, we could debate. We could have do a top 12 of what is the worst month of the year. What is the best month of the year?
So this is one of those things where I'm a big proponent of Super Bowl on either Saturday or I'd settle for Sunday of President's Day weekend, like a 3-day weekend. Now I know that that's not a 3-day weekend for everyone. It is typically a 3-day weekend for me. But I feel like you could be on board with the idea of stretching at least that little bit of football into halfway through February to kind of ease the pain of February.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does very little. I feel like if the Dolphins, they're having those meetings at 24 minutes after the hour now. So clearly that's going to be the trick. I say that jokingly. I'm fully on board with doing whatever you think you need to do to get. But if the Dolphins won a Super Bowl in February, that particular February would be a great February.
It would make up for the crappiness that has happened in February for the last 25 years or so. And I know there's obviously things that have happened in my personal life that have made the months much, much worse. Honestly, it's the month that I've lost the most loved ones, which is
That'll do it.
not great, but it's always so cold and gloomy and it's gotten worse as I've gotten older because I used to love winter. I used to love snow and the cold weather. Now I'm just get this out of here.
We need to
I
get
don't
closer
want
to the
this
Summer
anymore.
Olympics. The Better
Yes,
Olympics.
it is coming up. It is not the Better Olympics. As we had the discussion with Jess Kamoff
Yes,
here on the Bulldog
yes.
Hour, where she was, you thought because she's a track person that she
Right.
would think Summer Olympics. No, she was
Then
full
she
in on Winter
buried
Olympics.
the lead that
right.
oh yeah,
She said,
I
I trained for
for
skeleton. What? You trained? Hold on. Wait a minute. We need to circle back here.
Yeah.
But yeah, but clearly the best month is probably, especially when you're talking sports, October is the best month of the year because you have every
It is.
major
It is
American
pretty
sport
awesome.
going on.
You get those sometimes. Well, they call them those sports equinoxes, where you get
All
all four
sports are playing,
major ones
yeah.
playing on the same one.
So-
Those are pretty cool.
And then clearly, if you're not counting sports in there, December is obviously the best month of the year. So
'Cause it's the
that's
last.
easy. I don't know.
Another one down.
It'll be. I will be happy to celebrate the end of 2024 this year. Hasn't been a great year. has not been a great
Hey.
year.
Yeah.
So I'm already prepared to move on to 2025, and we're not even officially halfway through 2024. So, but the beginning of 2024 has been terrible. So I'm ready for 2025. That's for sure. We were going to do a little bit of gaming tonight, but that is on hold because we can't access the files.
Thanks, 2024.
Thanks, yeah. Way to go. Cloud gaming was not working for me. Couldn't access our dynasty, so that's on hold.
Here's a little plus for July, though. Like
July is
the
jumping
new-
up the charts this
the
year.
new
Yeah.
college football.
College football 25 from EA Sports.
Is it 25 or 24?
25, yeah.
Okay,
They are
okay.
continuing that stupid nomenclature. I don't know why. I hate it. I was hoping they would change that because they haven't had a game in 11 years.
Well, and the other thing is, it makes even less sense than it would for Madden. You know, like if
right.
but they used different ones for Madden, didn't they? Isn't
The
is it
naming?
the numbering?
No, it's the same.
Is it the same?
Yeah, it
Okay.
was always the
See,
same.
for Madden though, I can at least get it because like, and I get that the champion is, but like now they're still playing like regular season and stuff like that. Although based on that schedule you sent me of college football, there's a decent amount that's going to happen at the end and into the next year too. So
I'm sure they do it because they don't want people in, I guess the beginning of 2025 to look and be like, oh, this is last year's game. I'll wait for this year's game. I'm assuming that's why they do it. The biggest inconvenience or confusing part for people that weren't into gaming, especially like parents and grandparents buying gifts, is when they switch from saying the full year. So like for a while it was in like for the 08 college football season, it was college football 2009, I believe. Or maybe actually that might have been too late. It was at one point it was like college football 2005
right.
for the 04 football season.
Right.
Well, at some point, and it actually might have been around like that 08, 07, 08, 09, they dropped the first two numbers and just went with the last two. Well, so once you get into the 2010s, now it looks like they're sequels. So like college football 11 follows college football 10.
Right.
So you're looking for those iterations, and it got people very confused as to which one they should be buying. And this is clearly for people that are not into the gaming scene, as you and I say, as we play like 3 games total, maybe combined,
Right.
on consoles anymore. Things change a lot
Yeah, my
after
son
you
will
get out of
ask me
college.
questions about games that he is interested in, and I'm like, I can't help you at all.
I think my
I
daughter's
can
playing.
look up a YouTube video for you to learn this.
Let me Google that for you.
Yes.
Roblox and Minecraft and like all this
Yeah.
stuff. No clue.
Yep.
You want to play Super Smash Brothers? I'm there.
Right.
We want to download the old, which I did on my new Xbox, ready for the new college football game, GoldenEye, like a remaster
there
or
you
whatever.
go.
I don't think it's
Right,
technically
right.
a remastered version, but they made it available backwards compatible on Xbox, even though that was
Right.
not an Xbox proper.
No.
Well, Xbox didn't exist when that came out. You want to play that? You want to play GoldenEye? Absolutely. Let's play GoldenEye. Nintendo 64, baby. But the new games? Nope. Sorry. I have one game that I like to play. Ghost Recon. I was big into Ghost Recon, but not like the online players. Not. I like the
See, like,
campaign. I
yeah,
like the
to
story
me-
mode.
Even then, like I was never like the only games I feel like I've ever really been into are like sport games.
When we made you play Halo,
I would play
so-
Halo because my friends played Halo. You're right. And it's not like I didn't like it, you know what I mean? But like, I felt like I experienced there. Listen, it wasn't like I was really good at the sports games, but like I played them much more often. But like the Halo games, I also just like wasn't that good because I didn't play that often. And so like when we'd play like the multiplayer stuff and things, I'd usually get destroyed, which doesn't make it more fun, you know. But like I really enjoyed the campaign stuff too. Like that was fun. So
Well, I believe you're playing it with your son now.
I have. I introduced him to campaign mode of Halo. We've done it a little bit. He asks to do it all the time. But like it's that was fun because that was also the first game where he played that actually had like a campaign mode type of thing. Most of the games he has played don't have that feature. So like for him, he was like, wait, this is like a movie. Like, cause it's like,
Right.
it cuts away to those, those intro,
Which if
outro.
you're
kind
my
of things.
wife, she just goes, skip it.
Well, see, I would at times, but a lot of times I'm like, I haven't. We're
this
playing a
game.
version of Halo 2 that I have never played. I think it's Reach.
The
It was just.
Oh, you're playing Reach.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So like,
Yeah, that's not even with the Master Chief. That's with other Spartans.
right, it's just with the
It's
other
a
stuff.
great game.
And so like, it's just like, okay, we're just kind of going through stuff. So yeah, but he's enjoying that, and I am too. Like that's fun.
Yeah, well, and I know Greg's son Jack also just
Yes,
started playing Halo.
yes.
So we're soon going to be. Greg
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
"Let me tell you about a time where we played System Link,
Right. Remember when we used to take our Xboxes
to people's houses,
and link them up?
run giant cords through the. Well, like in college, you'd run them through the hallway.
Yeah.
Oh, what a time. So, well, we're not gaming tonight as we went off on a tangent on gaming, but the new college football game is coming out, like Justin said, I think, what are we, 5 weeks away about?
Yeah.
And I'll be getting it 3 days early. I bought the edition that'll get me at July 16th, which was a necessity because we'll be away the day it comes out and that whole weekend. So I'd like to play the game a little bit before we leave. I'm going to see a Phillies game that weekend, so it's
I think
it's
we're
gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm gonna
hanging
be
out with
in
the
a hotel
in-laws.
that night. Can you imagine? Like, I just don't manage anything. I don't have any of my clothes. I just packed my Xbox.
I packed the
I'm
Xbox. That's all I
hooking it
needed.
up to the hotel TV.
Yeah, well, we're heading out to Pittsburgh to visit Kelly's family, which is we always have a great time. It's all just bad timing with that game coming out and Twisters coming out as well. I saw. Did you send me that thing where someone was like, "This should be a national holiday"? College football 25 and
like,
Twisters.
And
is
it was
coming
one
out.
of those things. There were a couple things this week where I was like, I feel like I have to send this to you. That was one of them, and I'm just like, did Joey write this?
It's right. Is that you? But I'm trying to get a group to go to see it because our local theater is doing a Thursday night preview of Twisters.
Yeah.
I reached out to the group chat to see if anyone wanted to go, and I know Greg's away, but Kelly and I are going. My dad's probably going to go as well. So I'm excited that we'll get to see it
Cool.
ahead of time before we go. There was a chance we could go see it in Pittsburgh, but I hate taking time away
Right.
from the visit to go do something like that. Although I think almost everyone would go along and watch it. But we're going to Phillies Pirates game, which will be a lot of
That'll
fun.
be awesome.
So yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. But so no, we're done with movies and video games. We're moving on to our actual topic tonight, which is our continuation of the 2024 NFL preview. We're in the North divisions now, Justin. So we got the 8 North teams. We'll start in the NFC, finish with the AFC. I know the stakes get higher here for us, these last 4 divisions that we talk about, the North and the East. The West, despite having the Chiefs and having, this like mini dynasty that's been going on, we don't give a lot of talk throughout the year, the season, to the West teams or even the South teams. But once we get to the North here, not so much the NFC North, although they're fun because of how long they've been around and the history that we have, and the Lions are fun again. So the NFC North has become very entertaining. But the AFC North with the Steelers, Ravens, those 2 teams in particular, but even the Browns and Bengals, especially your friends and family have a link for you to those teams.
Yeah, and so like I think, like you said, like the stakes are just a little higher for us with some of the teams that we'll talk about tonight, which makes it more fun when I have strong opinions. Like like some of the teams in the other divisions I have strong opinions about, but like others I'm just like kind of like figuring out what. Basically what I think is going to happen. But some of these teams, like, I'm trying to figure out what I think is going to happen, but I also have strong feelings one way or the other about a lot of these teams. Honestly, as we get to the North, I have strong feelings, usually in the negative for a lot of these teams. But, like, that's just the way it goes.
I hate all of you, and I want you to know that.
Right. I dislike you all the same.
Well, we're going to start in the NFC, though. So we'll save AFC for the end. We'll try to run through the NFC North in about 20 minutes. We'll spend about 5 minutes a team, give or take. We always start with our last place team. I feel like I always make you go first with your 4th place pick in the NFC. Do you want to continue that, or do you want me to go?
That's
It doesn't
fine.
matter.
You can do it for the AFC if that's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. So why don't you go first for NFC 4th place?
All right. So NFC 4th place. Let's see. So I'm struggling a bit with this because I have a team in mind. I don't know if I have the guts to do it, and I'm gonna go with the Vikings as the 4th place team.
Okay. I already dislike you.
I think
Only because that was my plan too.
you're really mad because you were like, oh man, I'm gonna go with Vikings. I'm gonna go first too, and then like I was like, oh no, I'll go first, and you're like, oh okay. So called your bluff, I guess.
Did, I don't know.
So I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think they are not better than last year. I think, and again, I am not a huge Kirk Cousins guy. Like, I think they are worse at quarterback than they were last year. I think Justin Jefferson is one of the best receivers in the league. That is absolutely true.
Probably the best receiver.
He probably
in the
is. He
league.
probably is the best receiver.
They got a good 2.
He's no Jalen Reagor. That is a fact. He is no Jalen
He is
Reagor.
not Jalen Reagor. That is for sure.
However, we see this, right? And like, what's that? There's this crazy stat. Like, if a receiver's like the highest paid player on your team, or like whatever, or outside of the quarterback, if the receiver's like the highest paid, like it just doesn't add up a lot of times because you struggle to fill out the rest of your roster. This was a team that last year struggled to fill out the rest of their roster, and they hadn't had to pay Justin Jefferson yet. They paid him. Now, this next year may be beneficial for them because this still going to be his, like, a lot of times when you extend the guy, when they have their rookie year, their 5th year rookie deal, like, still left, you can really work those cap numbers, especially for that first year. It's part of the benefit to extending someone as to letting it run out and then not having that flexibility. However, like, when you're paying a receiver, the market value, he's getting paid as the best. He is the best. Like, that's not the issue. It's just, it gets hard. And I think they have a lot of holes to fill. And I don't like the narrative that J.J. McCarthy can't be good enough in the NFL. Because
that's not a narrative. That's a fact.
Because I don't know that he can't.
I know it.
I just am I am strongly not in the other boat of, oh, he's a winner, so he will win in the NFL. Like, I'm not in that boat yet either, because like, there's a lot of quarterbacks who won a lot in college who were no good in the NFL. And some of that has to do with them. Some of it has to do with luck of where they end up going.
Mark Sanchez, Matt Leinart.
Right. Like, there are...
So, USC quarterbacks.
There are probably more quarterbacks who have won a lot in college and don't win in the NFL than the other way around. But, like, I don't think they're going to be terrible. Like, I don't think they're going to be like one of the worst teams in the league, because what can you do to help a quarterback who I have questions about? Give him the best receiver in the league. But that can be tough too, because like, if that's your only true weapon, then you could be in trouble, right? Like, and we saw that. We've seen that a couple times when the Vikings have played the Eagles over the last couple of years. The Eagles have been able to relatively shut down Justin Jefferson and beat the Vikings. So anyway, that's kind of my take. I'm going to put them...
They're 7-10 last year.
I kind of put them right around the same spot. I'm going to put them like 6 wins to account for some things, because I think, like, all right, you have Justin Jefferson, but you had him last year. Now, I know he missed a lot last year too.
Yeah.
But like, I think you were at least a game or two worse at quarterback than you were last year, and that's accounting for Jefferson maybe giving you a win or so more this year. You know what I mean? So like, at quarterback, you might be 3 or so wins worse. They didn't have Cousins for a lot of last year either.
So he got injured in week 8 at Green Bay, which the team ended up winning amidst of a 5-game winning streak there in the middle of the early middle of the season.
Which is honestly the only reason why they didn't draft a better quarterback, right? Like, if they go 3-2 in that stretch, or 2-3 in that stretch,
and they're
not drafting J.J. McCarthy with
5-12 or whatever. Yeah. So I'm in agreement with you with basically everything you said. I don't know that I disagree with anything you said. I am going to quickly play devil's advocate here, because I feel like their losses versus additions outside of quarterback are fairly a push.
And that could be,
because they lost Daniil Hunter, who I think was kind of getting he was ready to move on. I feel like.
Yeah.
But they added a couple nice edge pieces, maybe underrated, maybe not in the same stratosphere as Daniil Hunter, but in Van Ginkel from my Dolphins, and I love Van Ginkel, hated to see him leave, and Grenard from the Texans. He had a fantastic year last year. So you have a couple Russian guys there that should be able to, I think, maybe replace Daniil Hunter. And a couple other positions, fluctuating maybe wide receivers with KJ Osborne and Trent Sherfield kind of traded out there. They did so at linebacker as well, outside of the rushers that I always met. I feel like they kind of are a push. So if you're going
Yeah.
like talent-wise, those
Right.
transitions, not much of a change. That you may even say at running back they upgraded with
I would agree.
Madison leaving and Aaron Jones
I would
coming
agree.
in. But even though Kirk Cousins only played, 6.5 games or whatever,
Right.
7.5 games, I still give him an edge over a rookie J.J. McCarthy, who I was not a fan of coming out.
Right.
I didn't think he deserved to be taken in the first round. Certainly not. Was he top 10 then? Was he the 10th
He
pick?
might have been around 10, yeah.
So I just, even if, say, Aaron Jones gives you one more win and you get to 8 and 9, I feel like the loss of Cousins and the unknown of McCarthy drops you back down to at least 7, if not 6.
Well, and what was it? Who's the other quarterback there right now? Because I thought I
Sam
saw a thing
Darnold.
just this week that
It's Sam
Darnold is
Darnold.
firmly the one right now.
So there you go. I mean, we know who Sam Darnold is. We saw him fail with the Jets. He didn't do much with the Panthers. Then he was with the 49ers
Right.
briefly. We haven't seen him be able to grab hold of a starting job and look great when he had one.
Well, and again, Jefferson is the best wide receiver, but he also lets his feelings be known. And like if he's not getting the ball, it could
be a problem.
It could be a problem.
So they did also, besides McCarthy, they drafted Dallas Turner, which is a great pick. The rusher out of Alabama.
But they also they
Two
have a
first-round
rookie quarterback, so unproven, a running back, but like they had some issues on the line, and I don't know, like that's not going to go away, you know. Yeah, I think,
They also, I mean, we've talked about this with a lot of teams we've discussed the last few weeks, but they don't have an easy opening first 5 weeks. They have a bye week 6. They start at the Giants. That's a game you have to win. If you're going to compete, you got to beat the Giants. I know it's on the road.
Please beat the Giants.
But then they host, thankfully for them, the 49ers and the Texans back to back. Those are two teams that are expected to challenge for conference championships. Then they have to go to Lambeau and play the Packers, who a lot of people are pretty high on Green Bay. And obviously, with you and I having the Vikings in 4th, obviously we're much higher on Green Bay than we are Minnesota. Then they technically, quote, host the Jets, but it's over in London.
Right.
Now, to me, that should be a toss-up game, especially if the Vikings are a team that wants to be challenged for the playoffs, because we haven't gotten to the East yet, but I just am still baffled by how the Jets are all of a sudden a conference championship contender and possibly the best team in the AFC East. Like Aaron Rodgers at whatever he is, 40-something, coming off of the Achilles tear, he makes that team better than the Bills and Dolphins by that much.
Right.
I just, I don't buy into that narrative. We heard it now we're pushing probably a decade plus ago, where people honestly thought that the Jets were going to go 16-0 one year. That might have been like one of the Mark Sanchez years. And I'm just like, why is this a thing? The Jets have not won anything since Joe Namath.
Right.
They have less AFC East titles than the Colts. The Colts haven't been in the AFC East since 2001.
I loved it. I was like,
So I just don't understand why the Jets
Yeah, you
get the
do.
benefit.
yeah, you do.
New York market.
All the things that you love.
Media blowhards. Aaron Rodgers. Oh, get out of here. So, anyways, to finish the discussion with the Vikings, that's a tough start for them. They got to beat the Giants, and then you got to win probably 2 of the next 4, and that's going to be tough. And then they come out of the
Yes.
bye with Lions, Rams, Colts, Jaguars before hitting maybe 2 teams closer to or a few teams maybe closer to their talent level, and the Titans, Bears, Cardinals, Falcons, Bears, Seahawks. So they got to weather the first, till mid-November. It's after their bye, but I mean, if you're sitting at 1-8 as you go to Jacksonville, the season's over.
Yeah.
You can't. So
Well, and here you go. When
those
you
first
look at this stuff,
8 weeks, man.
does the quarterback even matter for a bunch of those games? That's a stupid question. The quarterback obviously matters, but does it matter whether it's Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy for a bunch of those games? And I don't think it does. And I think that tells you everything you need to know, right? I wouldn't go in there and say, does it matter whether we're starting Kirk Cousins or Sam Darnold in these games? I'd say yes for most of them.
Right. Well, I mean,
not San Francisco. That it probably won't matter. You know what I mean? So there's somewhere it wouldn't, but I'm if they had Kirk Cousins in there, I'm I know I picked the Texans to do really well again, but I'd give them a shot in that game. You know what I mean? I go through, I give them a shot against the Packers just because unknowns there a little bit. I give them a shot against the Jets, but with those other guys, I don't know. I don't know.
well, right, you go down the list of their opponents and you just look 1-1. Who has the better quarterback? in what matchup here do you say Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy is better than their opponent? You could maybe convince me against the Giants and Daniel Jones because he's also coming off an injury. So if you're factoring all that stuff, and that's all at play, but they're not better than Brock Purdy. They're not better than C.J. Stroud. They're not better than Jordan Love. They're not better than Aaron Rodgers. They're not better than Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford. I mean, Anthony Richardson's still an unknown, so there could be a conversation there. They're still probably not better than Trevor Lawrence.
No.
I mean, if you've listened to the show for a while, Justin and I aren't huge Trevor Lawrence as a pro fan, but you could make a debate maybe about Will Levis.
I may take Will Levis, but I would completely understand why other people wouldn't. Right?
I feel like those other ones are not really up for much discussion at all.
Right.
Same thing with. People think Caleb Williams, he was just the number one pick in the draft,
Right.
9 picks before J.J. McCarthy.
So, it would be hard to argue. Like, while we aren't huge on Caleb Williams, it would be hard to argue that you're not
better
that
than
he's not
J.J.
better,
McCarthy or Sam Darnold. And the same thing with, I know Kyler Murray has had that shine rub off, but you could maybe say it's a push or you'd open that discussion.
Right.
I'm probably still taking Kyler Murray, though.
Right.
Especially he's now a year removed from his significant injury.
Right.
Then you get the Kirk Cousins. I'm still taking Kirk.
Right.
With Caleb Williams up again. I would listen to an argument about Geno Smith, but I would lean Geno.
Right.
Then we're back to Packers and Lions, two quarterbacks we already talked about. Right. So none of those were Vikings have the lead. None of those games. You would definitively say the Vikings have the better quarterback. So I'm 5 to 6 wins. That's where I'm at. Now maybe J.J. McCarthy or Sam Darnold will prove me wrong, but that's what makes these discussions fun. You don't see something coming,
right?
And I don't see a great season from the Vikings coming. Are they going to go winless? No, they're not that bad of a team. They're an average team, probably at best, unless they get a phenomenal debut from J.J. McCarthy. I don't see that happening. I'm 4th place, 5 to 6 wins. All right, we'll roll right into our number 3. I'm gonna go with the Chicago Bears, Justin. I know.
Yeah, I agree.
They got the first pick in the draft. They've got Caleb Williams. They're coming off a 7-10 season in which they did finish 4th last year. Oh, sorry. One last thing about the Vikings. I said I was gonna play devil's advocate, and then I just piled on. The devil's advocate part was they were 7-10 last year. 8 of their 10 losses, and actually their first 8 losses, all came by 7 points or less.
Right, but I feel like that was regression to the mean because they had like 11 wins,
close wins the year before,
7 wins
right.
or 7 points or less the year before.
So some of the defensive changes that they've made, especially with adding Dallas Turner and a few of the other edge rushers, does that help their defense? Offensively, getting Aaron Jones in from Madison, does that help their offense enough that could they steal a couple of those games? Maybe, and all of a sudden they're 10-7.
The Jones thing to me is the X factor because that's going to be the piece that lets your
quarterback
develop. If they can't run the ball, it's going to be a long year in Minnesota.
So if Minnesota ends up winning more than 7 games, I would say it's because of Aaron Jones and an improved defense. And McCarthy didn't look like, I don't want to say didn't look like a rookie, but was more than serviceable.
Look, we are fully on board with you got to give a quarterback more than a year.
Right. Oh my, yes,
but
absolutely.
Today's NFL, like that, I want to say it's not the case, but like
at most
if he
2 years.
He looks bad this year, there's going to be people saying they made a mistake and they need to fix it and all this stuff. I think, again, this is a key situation where Minnesota, by the end of this year, they need to know if JJ is their guy. Like, and that could be, like, he could show signs of promise, and I still think they win 6 or 7 games. But at least he would maybe answer some questions. That's what they need. They need him to answer some questions so that they know that, we're going to build around this guy.
So that was the final point about the Vikings. Moving on to the Bears, I have them in 3rd. They're going to be on Hard Knocks, which should be interesting with the Caleb Williams factor. They were 7-10 last year, actually finished in 4th place. I definitely feel like they've upgraded.
Yeah,
at a lot of places that they needed to upgrade, both through the draft and through trades and free agency. They have given the rookie Williams a lot of weapons on offense.
Yeah.
If their line can improve, work together, there shouldn't be many excuses for Williams other than he is a rookie. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there that it's the beginning. But he doesn't get the Justin Fields treatment that there was no talent around him. There's that safety net is not there for him. There is plenty of talent there because not only did they bring in another veteran receiver in Keenan Allen to go with the trade they made last year for DJ Moore, they also drafted Roma Dunze. That's 3 really
Some
good
people
receivers.
like him as they understood Harrison
right.
Jr. was the quote unquote the best, but some people had him as one. He was certainly one of the top wide receivers, and some people preferred him.
Right. So they lost Darnell Mooney, but they didn't really need him with the top
Right.
3 that they ended up having. I'm trying to say, they signed DeAndre Swift, so they have Swift back there
Yeah.
on the running back. They signed Gerald Everett at tight end to go with Cole Kmet. So they made some nice moves on offense to put around Caleb Williams. I feel like he set up the only thing that maybe needed to be addressed a little bit more was offensive line. They did trade for We Are Penn State Ryan Bates from the Buffalo Bills to come in as an interior offensive lineman. We'll see if he's enough of an upgrade, but they had already lost Cody Whitehair to the Raiders, and that's probably my biggest question mark in terms of the Bears offensively
Which is a
the
big
offensive
question
line,
mark
right?
for a
Which
rookie
can be
quarterback
a
especially.
bit of an issue. So, yeah, I just they won 7 games last year with Justin Fields, and they have improved greatly. So I don't see them in that 5, 6, 7
Right.
win range. They've gotten better, which is another reason why I think the Vikings could take a step back. I think the teams in their division have improved or were already much better than them, like the Lions.
Right, and I feel like the drop off from Justin Fields to Caleb Williams is smaller in my mind than it is from
Kirk Cousins to
to
McCarthy or
J.J.
Darnold.
McCarthy.
Right. So I would probably say I would be disappointed if the Bears didn't get above 500.
I was gonna say, I think they make a run at
I think
500.
they're going to be at least 1 win,
To be
maybe
honest,
2
if
better.
they win 8 games this year, I feel like people are going to be excited. There will be some who are like, well, what could Justin Fields have done with his offense, especially considering we could have either traded that number 1 pick for other assets or
Right.
taken, other weapons that, so like they could have. I understand that side of things too, but you know what? They also did, and we talk about that. They reset that rookie quarterback clock, like contract wise. So,
And one of the other benefits for the Bears versus the Vikings, the Bears are playing a 4th place schedule, so they're getting
Yeah.
teams that are a little bit worse,
Yep.
at least on paper last year. They're starting out
with a team we picked
with a
to be
team
pretty
that
bad.
right, a team that they may very well be better than, and I would think we would pick them to win against the Titans. Then they got to go to Houston and Indianapolis. Houston won. I would say the Texans are probably better and should win that game, but I could see them being a push with the Colts. Yeah, I feel like that one's up in the air this far, before the season starts. Honestly, same thing with maybe the Rams. I think
Yeah.
the Rams did they win 10 games last
I
year?
think so.
They were right around.
But like, if they're gonna ride on Matt Stafford,
Right, and if Stafford goes down, that could be an issue there for them. So again, like Bears Rams to me is closer to a toss up. Do I favor the Rams? Probably a little bit, but I think the Bears can definitely make that an interesting game. They should beat the Panthers. I could see them beating the Jaguars. Then the Commanders, I definitely could see the Bears beating Washington. Same thing with the Cardinals and Patriots. So this is a team that's set up because of the schedule to look much better than maybe they are, but also much better than Minnesota, who I think had quite a gauntlet to start for sure.
Yeah, and again, that gauntlet to start can cause volatility with like who's going to be there. There's no question. Caleb Williams is the quarterback in Chicago. They named him, right? They named him.
Yeah, they already said it.
Right.
He's our quarterback.
Which
Of course
I
he
understand.
is.
It's not the same scenario, but like
He should have been.
That explains the difference, right? So
That's
we'll
the
see.
first 10 weeks of the season.
And again, to emphasize, while we have not been big Caleb Williams guys on this show, it takes a lot. It's very similar in my mind to the Trevor Lawrence talk that we have given for years, is that it's not that we think he's not good. It's that I question whether he's generational talent. And some of that goes to the, like, I don't know that we can have a generational talent every other year in the draft or every 3 years in the draft. That's
should
not
be
how
in every-
generation.
Like,
Like,
at
if
minimum,
you told me these guys were generational talents at their high schools, I believe that because like
Right,
you're
sure.
spreading it out
Yeah.
a lot more. But like, it's just not. That's not how generations work.
no, it's not. Well, because I was even going to say I could give you maybe 10 to 12 years. I would not consider that a generation.
No.
But I would allow you to use the term much more often than we are
Right,
now, where it's
right.
every 2 to 3 years.
Right.
That's not how it works.
Well, and you can have like that can be, a couple waves of talent in terms of the NFL or any professional league. So, like, okay, I'll get that. But, like, when you're coming in and the last generational talent is still on the rookie deal, that's not how generational talents work. And it's not that I think you're overusing the term. It's not that,
Right. No,
there aren't
exactly.
generational talents. I think
Yep.
you're overusing the term.
Yep. So, honestly, if the Bears don't have 5 wins after their game against the Patriots on November 10th, I would be concerned
Yeah.
because of the way the schedule sets up. Because the next part, starting November 17th in Week 11, going through Week 18 on January 4th, they've got much harder schedule.
Oh, and we know that Chicago weather can really help
Right.
rookie quarterbacks
So-
who are not used to that.
I worry about them not capitalizing early and then struggling late and having a quote collapse despite the schedule here at this point of the summer looking much more difficult in the second half when they have Packers, Vikings, Lions, 49ers, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, Packers. We talked about earlier, in those first 9 games, 10 weeks, they're at worst a push, if not a probable win. And when the betting lines come out, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. They could win 6, 7, 8 of those games because there's only a few. Like I feel like the Texans are probably much more talented than them, but every other team on there is probably pretty close to where Chicago is at. But the second half, you got 2 against the Vikings, 1 against the Seahawks that are probably toss-ups. But Packers, Lions, 49ers, Lions again, Packers again, those I don't think you're as talented as. Could you win one of those games? Absolutely. But it's going to be much tougher from November 17th on than it is November 10th and before. So they're my third place team. I have them 8 to 9 wins.
I agree.
All right. Who's your third?
So in third place, I'm gonna go with the Packers.
Okay, that's who I was
because
picking too.
Did the Packers win the division?
No, they were second.
Okay. Okay. So I think they're good, and I think they're headed in the right direction.
They were 9 and 8 last year.
I think they're an improvement over that. I think they're going to get to maybe 10. I could see them in that 10-11 window. I kind of really like what the Lions have been doing, and I think they've got a lot of positive momentum going there. So I think the Packers are there. I think they're a really good team, and depending on how the season unfolds, I could see them being a team. Like I certainly see them being a playoff caliber team and a team that possibly people want nothing to do with. If Jordan Love plays the season like he kind of molded into last year, finishing the season, I feel like he's somebody and that's a team that people might want nothing to do with come playoff time. And it could be setting up for a lot of great Packers Lions things over the next few years, which is cool when I don't really have a dog in that fight.
Definitely riding the Lions there.
So like that would be cool.
So I'm right there with you. I think the Packers are second place again. They were 9 and 8 last year. I would probably say I think I could give them 10 wins.
Right. I think less than 10's disappointing
it
to
would
me.
be, yeah. I don't know that I think they lost all that much. Aaron Jones was the biggest loss, but they brought in Josh Jacobs.
And they've been running by committee there a little bit for a while.
I know David Bakhtiari is a big name loss, but he's been injured so much of late. Right. I don't know if that matters as much as it would have a few years ago. They did sign Andre Dillard. They brought in a new kicker, Greg Joseph, from the Vikings. They also signed Xavier McKinney from the Giants. Those are probably the biggest transactions of note. Just wanted a quick look at their schedule. Obviously, the big time opener on Friday, September 6th against the Eagles in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So that's an interesting one to note. They open up there. Again, I think the Packers are going to be pretty good. I don't see them outside of the Eagles playing someone that they shouldn't be favored against until maybe the Detroit Lions on November 3rd.
And I think we can agree on this, and this is not a spoiler for the Eagles pick, but like that first game is clearly a toss-up.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like,
no, I agree.
Openers a lot of times are.
I favor Philly, but the Packers are good enough that I'm hesitant.
Right. I would agree. I just think, like, especially the travel to a place where the NFL hasn't traveled there before, too. Yeah. So, like, because when there's games, even when there's games in, like, Mexico City and stuff, like, you can reach out. There's so much communication between teams. Oh, this is what we did. This is all that stuff. Like, so that will be interesting. But yeah, I think, like you look, they have a manageable first.
So I actually,
like, honestly, through their almost to their
look
bye.
over their whole schedule. I don't
Yeah.
see more than a handful of teams at most that they would not be favored to beat.
Yeah.
So if
like,
that would hold true, they'd be 12-5.
right. Yeah. So 10 would definitely be.
I think that's a little high.
Yeah.
But I think they should easily get to 10-7, if not 11-6.
Right. Because even when I'm looking, I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. But then I look and I'm like, it's at Lambeau. All right. I'm probably I look at.
So Eagles is in a neutral site.
Right. Yeah.
Lions, first one at Lambeau. 49ers, Dolphins, two other teams that are going to be
Yeah,
pushes.
yeah.
Both at Lambeau.
Exactly.
Now they go to Ford Field in Detroit, obviously, but
And at Seattle,
like
is that at Seattle?
honestly,
is-
because of the location for at least the Dolphins game, people are still going to be pretty high on the 49ers. But because the Dolphins are going to Lambeau, I think Green Bay's going to be favored
right.
there.
And it's late November, so it could be 70 degrees. It could
be 22 and
17
snowing.
degrees. Right. Yeah.
So honestly, I feel like the Packers are probably going to be favored in 13 of these 17 games.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll say 10-11 because that's where I think they're going to finish. But it is hard to pick out a lot of losses for them here.
Yeah.
Because do you think the Lions will beat them twice?
No.
I think they could split.
I mean, and that's not a statement about the Lions.
No.
That's, I think the Packers are good enough to split that
to make it tough.
And to go back to kind of how I started it, I kind of think that's the difference between, is this Packers team a threat to be playing into late January, or is this a Packers team that'll make it to January probably, but not really a threat to maybe win more than one game there? You know, will they be playing in the first weekend,
Right.
and therefore possibly playing in the second weekend, or are they gonna like maybe be playing 2 or 3 games? You know, like that's the difference. I think a team that splits with the Lions is got a chance to do that.
So they split with the Lions last year, and they actually each away team won, which is a little interesting. But let's move on to the Lions completely. They were 12-5 last year, won the division. Kind of everyone's not dark horse, because I think everyone saw the Lions being pretty good. I think they actually exceeded expectations last year, winning 12 games and making it to honestly a quarter within going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So what do we think about the Lions this year? You know, they started off on fire, beating the Chiefs in that opener, which really made it seem like, okay, people weren't just blowing smoke about the Lions. They're here to go. Then the next week they lose to the Seahawks in overtime. They ran off 4 straight wins before and getting obliterated and looking terrible at the Ravens, which we heard on our 400th episode, Jameson talk about, or Todd talk about how bummed Jameson was to see his favorite team get just destroyed against the Ravens. Then they won 3 in a row before losing to Green Bay at home, which was kind of a sucky thing to happen, but it was on Thanksgiving in a short week. They lost to the Bears, which that one was kind of
That's
the
a little
biggest head scratcher,
inexplicable, right.
because their next loss was the controversial one to the Cowboys with the substitution thing. So Seahawks game in overtime, coming off, you know, the big opener against the Chiefs. I kind of get that one. Seahawks weren't a terrible team last year.
No.
They weren't on the Lions level, but it was still early. It was in overtime, no big deal. The Ravens were great.
When
but
you're coming off that emotional beating the Chiefs to start.
Yep. Ravens were great. Getting blown out like that, not the best look, but whatever.
Right.
Packers, Thanksgiving, rivalry. It was only a touchdown difference. Fine. The December 10th one against the Bears is the one that it looks the worst.
Oh, absolutely.
But now I guess the biggest question, Justin, is, are the Lions better this year
Well,
than
so
they were last
like you
year?
mentioned, and they also are going to have a first place schedule. You
Versus,
know, like
were they a second or third place schedule this past year? Because I know they beat the Packers the last game to knock the Packers out, but it didn't get them to go into the playoffs. I just cannot
I don't
remember
think so, 'cause
with the way they finished
I
in
think
2022.
they might have been third place, right?
No, they were second. They were
Okay,
9-8
okay.
and second. So they had a second place schedule last year. They have a first place schedule this year. So additions, what's their biggest addition? Well, they lost Gardner Johnson to the Eagles, coming back to Philly. We heard all about that.
Thankful for that.
They re-signed a couple guys. And nothing really stands out to me too much. getting Carlton Davis from the Bucks, because that was their biggest
Yes.
deficiency, was at cornerback, and bringing Carlton Davis from Tampa Bay was a good one, as was adding a veteran offensive lineman Kevin Zeitler from the Ravens and defensive lineman DJ Reader from the Bengals. Trading for Tracer Walker. I'm sorry, not trading. Releasing Tracy Walker, got rid of one of the safeties, and they released Cameron Sutton after his law issues came about. But they did draft two really talented cornerbacks
Yes.
in the first and second round, and Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw from Alabama and Missouri.
Yeah, they never thought
respectively.
they were going to get Arnold at
No,
24.
never thought. And that's a huge addition. And when you also got Carlton Davis, I believe that was with a trade too. They've redone their secondary, which was probably their weak point. So
Right. So even if these guys have a rookie learning curve, which they will, that happens a lot at corner, especially when you have guys matched up against guys like Justin Jefferson
Right.
and some of those guys on the Bears. It could be interesting at times, but guess what? Come the end of the season, they're probably going to start coming around. Like that.
when it matters most.
Right. And you need your defense to hang in there and learn and be good come December and January. That's what you need,
But that
especially when they're young.
that first place schedule can be tough. And what they get to do, they get a rematch with Matthew Stafford and the Rams, who they almost lost to in the
Right.
first round of the playoffs in the season opener, which I believe that's the Sunday night game. So that should be a fun and entertaining game. I favor the Lions, but again,
Yeah.
I think the Rams could be good enough to pull off some of those
Right.
upsets.
Because the Rams, in theory, could be healthy for that game, right?
Right.
And
Probably should.
that will be interesting because the healthy Rams are interesting.
Now you know if
Rams
you-
post
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald,
Right.
but-
So if you've listened to our previous previews, you heard that we're a little bit down on the Bucks. We don't think Baker Mayfield's going to duplicate things. So the Lions, back-to-back games at home, you need to at a minimum go 1-1. It'd be great to start off 2-0 against teams that you're maybe challenging in the NFC for the playoffs. Then you got Cardinals, Seahawks. Those first four games are very winnable. Are they guaranteed wins? Absolutely not.
No, but there's
very
no reason
little
why
is
they can't be
guaranteed.
at least 3-1.
But you could be 4-0 entering your bye, an
3-1,
early bye.
and 3 of those are home. So that tells you also have a bunch of road games.
Road games
like
later
second
in the
half.
season. And most of them actually come out of the bye. 4 of their next 5 games out of the bye are away, including a rematch in Dallas after that wonky game that they lost 20-19.
I love that they get a bye before Dallas, though.
Then
I
they
love
go
that.
to Minnesota, a rivalry game. Tennessee, that's a game you got to win. Then they go another rivalry game at Lambeau for the Packers before going to Houston. That's a rough stretch because the Cowboys, Packers, and Texans are all expected to probably be playoff teams. Can't say the same for Vikings and Titans, but that's a rough 5-game stretch before they have Jaguars, Colts, Bears, Packers, Bills, Bears, 49ers, Vikings. So
A tough stretch at the end there, too.
So-
I mean, they got the Bears, but you have Bills, Niners, and Vikings in a 4-week stretch. That can be tough.
So I think my dad sent some not so great emojis. I'm guessing he's doing that because of the Cowboys Lions thing. We didn't really say too
it's
much.
Probably to me because I
To
said
you, huh?
I'm glad that the Lions have the bye before they play
okay.
the Cowboys, and
All right, I
I'm
got
really
it.
happy about that. And
So it
be
is
well rested and ready to go.
It is-
give their best effort. Maybe they can
It's-
get some better officiating this time around.
from an entertainment standpoint. The Lions' schedule is fascinating and fantastic. So host Stafford and the Rams again. Go to Dallas from that controversial game last year again. Go to San Francisco to rematch the NFC Championship again. They're the exact same locations too. So
there's a reason you see a variety of networks, including some of those primetime networks on that list
Yeah.
of TV
a
coverage.
lot of 8:15, 8:20 games, which means Sunday night, Monday night football, or Thursday. They got so Packers Lions is a Thursday game. Is that right? December 5th.
Dude,
Yeah, that's
dude,
10 days
I
until they
don't
play
know.
Buffalo. Wow, Packers Lions on Thursday night. Wow, Prime Video might have upped their ante to get some better games because the last 2 years I know people have been really, really down on Thursday night, still watching it. It's like 12 million people watching it, but yeah. So
That happened yesterday. Somebody was like, I'm done with the NFL, and I was like,
Yeah,
you're
okay.
gonna keep watching. I just
sure
I
you
just
are. So 12-5 last year. What do you think, Justin?
I'm gonna put them at 12 or 13, just because, 13. I know there's 17 games now, not 16, but 13 is still a lot of wins.
It's a lot of wins.
But
yeah.
honestly, I could see them right there challenging maybe with the Niners and maybe some others as like the best team in the NFC again. You know, like I don't see why not. I still think they're the best in their division. Think they have some tough games, but a manageable stretch. I think they're going to do all right.
All right, I think because of the improvements in Green Bay and Chicago, it's tough for me to say that they're going to duplicate their success at 12 or get better at 13. I'll say 11.
Okay.
I still think they win the division. So, but I'm going to say 11. But I do think they got better.
Yeah.
I just think they're one step higher in the scheduling pecking order, having to play the first place teams. They got a couple tough games that we already mentioned. So I'll put the Lions at 11-6, but I think they could be a very good team this year. All right, very quickly because we took a long time on that.
I was wrong about the game. The game actually speeds us up, I guess.
Yeah, apparently. No matter. We got 9 minutes. We got 4 teams in 9 minutes, Justin. I'll start. And this is a tough division because NFC North was fun. I think those teams are all relatively strong. Maybe we're most down on the Vikings. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if any of the 4 teams in the AFC North won the division.
I agree.
I also don't know if I'd be super shocked if any of them finished last. Maybe the Ravens. But again, injuries can do wacky things. But I feel like this is, I don't know necessarily a toss-up, but I feel it's very close.
Yeah,
this is a division I think you could see like all 4 teams win 10 or 11 games, if that's even possible, because I think they all have a lot of talent. But if I had to look at one and say this team is going to be last place in the worst, I want to say, I don't want to say because I don't hate this team. I want to say it's going to be Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that because Mike Tomlin has never finished below 500. Or actually, I don't even know if he's been 500 or less. I think he's always won.
I think he's been 500.
Has he been 500? He just hasn't been under 500.
Right.
Well, now you can't finish 500. So it's either 8 or 9 or 9 and 8. I want to say it's going to be the Steelers because that's where I feel like the Steelers should be because we're like Russell Wilson has not looked great. Justin Fields, I think, could be a great addition for them. It doesn't seem like they're going to give him a chance, though.
Which is really weird because I thought that's a move for their future, and I think that could be a great move for their future.
But I'm not putting them there.
Justin Fields won 7 games in Chicago
without
year.
much talent. Right. I know. And Pittsburgh has more and has a much better culture of late in terms of of being a better team. The Bears have been terrible off and on.
Quarterback in 20 years.
Right.
So
I'm this may surprise a lot of people because I know there's some that I think they have them as like a top 6 to 8 team. I'm going with the Browns here.
Okay.
I feel like they hit a bit of a hot streak and they got a little lucky with Joe Flacco. I mean, they got blown out in the
very
playoffs.
Lucky with Joe Flacco. He saved them.
I know he's gone, and supposedly Deshaun Watson is healthy and ready to go back, but like we haven't seen anything from him since 2020. It's 2024.
Right.
So the most important position on the field is again an unknown.
And a guy who's fair to the other stuff aside, it's fair to ask about his like health, his reliability.
Right.
Like he's been out a lot.
Right. They went 11-6 last year, second in the NFC or AFC North behind the Baltimore Ravens. They are rolling with Deshaun Watson. They brought in Jameis Winston. They also have Dorian Thompson-Robinson and added Tyler Huntley too. So you would think
when Jameis Winston is your more reliable quarterback, though, like that tells you everything you need to
But you would think that was an improvement over Joe Flacco last year. But Flacco, other than really that playoff game, had a really strong season for them. Nick Chubb's coming off a horrific knee injury. I know they have Jerome Ford and they signed Dante Foreman and Naheem Hines if he's ready to roll again. They traded for Jerry Jeudy, who has not reached his potential in the NFL, but pairing him with Amari Cooper is a decent 1-2 punch, especially if Jeudy would live up to his billing. Njoku's a great tight end. They have a pretty good offensive line, so it kind of sounds crazy to think, hey, they're going to finish 4th in the AFC North. That's where I'm at. I don't think I see them winning 11 games this year. And if they fall to 9 wins, that might be 4th place in that division.
Right.
So I'm putting Cleveland there. I'm going to say 9. I'm going to go 9 wins for Cleveland.
Okay.
And maybe they lose the tiebreaker to the 3rd place team, but I'm going to put them in 4th place at 9 wins.
So that's the way I was kind of leaning to. I feel like there's too much talent there. So I am going to go with the Steelers,
Okay.
and I'm going to go with 8 wins. It wouldn't surprise me for them to get to 9. And if they get the quarterback thing situated, I could see them being like closer to 10, like you said, and like really winning like a battle and maybe competing for the playoffs, if not the division. You know, like if they get the quarterback thing situated, which, don't get me wrong, I am rarely rooting for the Steelers, but like part of me would love to see Russell Wilson like have some success and be like, and there's Denver still searching for their quarterback. You know, like that would be very interesting to me. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm.
You have them 8.
I'm going to put
8
the
wins
Steelers
under
at, like,
500.
I do.
Okay.
I do. Which is
8.
it goes against what we say on the show all the time. Until you show me different, right? Like, I struggle to think that a team would win 9 and be in 4th place. I think it could happen. I just think it would be tough.
So they were 10-7 last year.
Absolutely. Actually, it has to be able to happen because if you can have all the teams finish above 500
I know it can happen.
or below 500, and you know, like a
it
team
can
makes the
certainly
playoffs,
happen.
like
It's just I feel like it's rare to
Right,
have 4
exactly,
teams
exactly.
finish with double-digit wins, you
Right.
know, or above 500. So you have Pittsburgh 4. You have Cleveland
I'm going
3.
to go
Then
Cleveland 3
at like 9 to 10
See,
wins.
right? And I just think outside of the quarterback thing, which I honestly put them kind of equal. Like I know that sounds crazy because like Deshaun Watson at his best
He's
was
just
incredible,
unknown.
but so was Russell Wilson. And I don't think you're getting Deshaun Watson's best. I don't necessarily think you're getting Russell Wilson's best, but I think the floor is a lot lower for Cleveland at quarterback than it is in Pittsburgh at quarterback.
I think
So-
the reason I flip-flop them is that Russell Wilson wasn't a problem last year in Denver.
No,
he
I
had
agree.
a much
I
better
agree.
season. I think he proved that he can still play.
I just don't know how much of the other pieces, because that seemed to start to go haywire a little bit last year in Pittsburgh, where that didn't tend to be the issue. It just seemed like not everybody was on the same page, and
Right.
like through thick or thin, it seemed like everybody was on the same page in Pittsburgh for a long, long time, and so like I just worry that. When I say worry, I think it may happen. I'm not actually worried. That like it'll be interesting to see if there's some trying times, especially early on, what that would mean for the Steelers.
So I'm higher on Pittsburgh than Cleveland because I think, like you said, I think quarterback position's at worst a push just because of the unknowns surrounding Deshaun Watson. I think Russell Wilson is ready to take advantage of Arthur Smith's offensive system and Mike Tomlin's coaching that he'll look better. They've been working on shoring up the offensive line now for 2 straight drafts. They drafted Fontenot and Frazier as rookies that likely start or certainly push for playing time early. And their schedule sets up nicely at the beginning that there are winnable games there for sure. Justin, I think this was brought up, but maybe you didn't know or don't remember. They don't play an AFC North rival until week 11.
Yeah. So
and
that
6 of their
8-game
last
stretch.
6 of their last 8 games.
Yes.
Are against all of
absolutely
them.
absurd. Well, and look at the 2 non-division
Chiefs.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. So the Steelers.
For my viewing pleasure, this is incredible.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You could have.
If
the
I was a
Steelers
Steelers
on,
fan, I would be irate. over
Steelers
this
on
schedule.
prime time every week from week 11 on.
I think they should play every Thursday.
Thursday, I mean, in time of year, you could do Saturday. So Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you could have a Steelers game on because it goes Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. That is a ridiculous end of the season.
Is Monday night able to be flexed this year?
Yes, but I
Like
don't
late
know
in the
when that
season. Right,
starts.
right,
I don't
right.
know when that starts. So,
Oh,
all
and
right.
check out that Christmas Day game. That's a Netflix game.
Yeah. I've had Netflix for so long,
So have
I
I.
don't care at all.
That was actually what was referencing. They're like, I'm not getting. I'm like,
I've had
I was
Netflix
just
for
like,
15
we're
years,
gonna watch.
so we're good here. So I have Pittsburgh finishing, I think, about where they were last year, 10-7. Honestly, I could see them winning 11 wins. I could also see them winning 8, but
Right.
I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say 10.
right. Like I feel like it would be a very, very Pittsburgh thing for Russell Wilson to find his spot there. Right. Like, oh man, like I feel like Russell Wilson, who the rest of the league really like. I say league. By this I mean fans. Like just like don't like him. Him being popular in Pittsburgh seems very. It just seems like such a Pittsburgh thing. Like So maybe there's something to that.
So we have like no time left. So we're going to have to unfortunately run through these real fast. Maybe we can touch on one again the next time we have a show, and it is our number 2 and number 1 in the AFC North. I'm going to throw maybe a curveball here. I'm having the Ravens in second. I think I already told you this before.
Yeah.
Maybe back around the Super Bowl time. I said, I'm not having the Ravens win that division. I feel like the return and the continued improvement of the Bengals, Joe Burrow's return, I think that puts them above. I may be talking myself into this just because I need to have something different. I feel like we've been a lot of status quo, which I hate to do, but I don't know that there's many teams that have jostled enough for me to not go status quo. So I'm going to have the Bengals at 1. Last year, the Ravens went 13-4. They're my 2 team. I'm going to have them winning 11. They lost Odell Beckham, Jadeveon Clowney, Ronald Darby, J.K. Dobbins, Devin Duvernay, Gus Edwards, Tyler Huntley, Sam Mustipher, Patrick Queen, that's a big one, went to the Steelers, John Simpson, Geno Stone, Rock Ya-Sin, and Kevin Zeitler, all significant contributors, not all starters, but all significant contributors that they lost. Now, obviously, they added Derrick Henry. That's huge. But I know Nate Wiggins, one of the other cornerbacks they had at the end of the first round. I'm excited they took another Penn State outside linebacker in Baltimore to go with Owe, but I still worry about Lamar Jackson's ability to stay healthy. He did it last year. They had trouble in the playoffs at home against the Chiefs. That was a bit of a red flag. They have a lot of talent. They're one of the best teams in the AFC, most likely.
Right.
I see them taking a couple games step back, and I think
And that's still
the
they're still
Bengals
really good.
11-6.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So that's where I'm at. I have
Okay.
Baltimore second, so obviously I have the Bengals in first. What about you?
I'm gonna flip them. Some of those questions I just still have about the Bengals. Like they didn't ever really hit their stride last year, even when Burrow was there, and then Burrow was out, and it was not the same. I do agree. I like some of the pieces and some of the things they are starting to do with the Bengals. I just think I'm kind of more on the Ravens right now. Like I just think they've got, I want to say a higher ceiling because that's not accurate. Because the Bengals ceiling is a Super Bowl, and I think the Ravens ceiling is a Super Bowl too. You know, like I think both teams, if everything goes right, could win the Super Bowl for those teams. I just think, and maybe it's just the recency part for me. Like I struggle because like the Bengals have had struggles even when Burrow was kind of like hanging in there. And who knows, maybe he was more injured and more like dinged up at the beginning. I know he had the hamstring thing or the calf thing. Like there are all kinds of stuff going on, but like, yeah. So we'll see. I'm just going with the Ravens. I'm going to put them at 12. I'll put the Bengals at 11. So like I could easily see that flip-flop. I think there's a lot of awesome games. I love when the AFC North is good because those games are a lot of fun to watch.
So the Bengals I think they were 9-8 last year, but finish in 4th place, which means they get a 4th place schedule.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes things a little bit easier. The Bengals, I think, get 11 to 12 wins. I know they lost to Woozy, they lost Boyd, they lost Reeder. We already talked about it. We lost Irv Smith, they lost Jonah Williams. I understand that. But they signed Geno Stone. They signed Zach Moss. They traded the running back. Why can't I think of his name?
Mixon.
They traded Joe Mixon to the Texans, but they signed Zach Moss, who looked really good for the Colts last year in relief of Jonathan Taylor. They brought in Gesicki, Sheldon Rankins, Von Bell, Trent Brown, Logan Woodside, backup quarterback. And
I think
not as big a
Gesicki's
deal.
a really good fit
But
for them.
Gesicki
too.
will get great for that offense. They drafted Amarius Mims. They added another offensive lineman, help remove the hurt from losing Jonah Williams. So I'm high on the Bengals this year. If Burrow is healthy, it could be a big if. With that 4th place schedule from a year ago, I think the Bengals could win 2, 3, even 4 more games, and that would get them to 13. I know that's a lot, but I think the Bengals could do it and unseat the Ravens. So, all right, we went over a little bit. I do want to get out of here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think we're anything you want to say? Anything you want to add?
No.
Yeah, just want to reiterate how terrible 2024 has been, and I hope that going forward things will get better as the year progresses. And I look forward to discussing more of our NFL preview. Are you available Father's Day night to continue this? We'll finish up with our AFC and NFC East.
I think so.
All right, so
That would be good because I haven't been here for all of them. in a long
I know
time.
it's been a long time.
So, like,
So
to be
I don't
here
know.
for all of them would be cool.
I don't know if we could do also playoffs, especially because the East divisions we really want to talk about, and we already went late tonight.
Yeah, we can
so.
figure it out. We'll figure it out.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
We will be back in a week on Father's Day to discuss the last divisions, the East Division. So, one last thing, shout out to my daughter Haley, celebrated her 9th birthday this past week. Brent also celebrated.
Oh man.
Brent Berenshausen, one of our friends. So happy birthday to them. Happy birthday to a few other people that probably don't want to be mentioned, but happy birthday to them. And yeah, we appreciate everyone listening. We'll be back in 1 week. See you then.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop. You can watch each weekly episode live on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also rate and review us on many of these platforms as well. We'd love to hear from you. Send your emails to the Mays Sandwich Shop inbox at joemaysandjraff@gmail.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is a part of the JMNJR Radio Network, home to other productions such as the Bulldog Hour, Tangents with Friends, and Nat Chats with Dad. Until next time.